Hi guys, and welcome back to the Mighty Blues. My name is of course Cameron, and welcome back today to another live stream. It is the game preview. Everton taking on Newcastle United tomorrow evening in the Premier League. Arguably our biggest game of the season so far, arguably our most important game of the season so far, and Frank Lampard's Everton go into it currently sitting with only 4 points more than this Newcastle side have. Newcastle sitting 19th in the Premier League, 21 games played, 2 wins, 9 draws and 10 losses. Most importantly, I think, to remember is that the latest game was a win against Leeds 1-0 in the Premier League. So one of those wins coming in their last game. Obviously, Everton are coming into this game off the back of an absolutely fantastic result and performance against Brentford in the FA Cup on the weekend. Newcastle had that extra day's rest because they were knocked out in the second round. In the third round by Cambridge, so they didn't play this weekend. They had time to rest up and recover. However, I said this earlier on and I'll say it again today, I would have rather have had a 4-1 victory in a game that was a fantastic performance, and that would have certainly build the confidence and momentum of the squad than have had an extra day's rest. Had we have had an extra day's rest, we'd be going into this game off the back of a 1-0 defeat to Aston Villa, and even though we'd have had a new manager and a couple of new players in there would have still been that overriding sort of anxiety and weight over our shoulder of that our last performance wasn't very good, whereas now we can actually go into this on a bit of a clean slate. Now, I understand the people saying that, you know, it's only one game, and, you know, we shouldn't get too ahead of ourselves, and, you know, let's not you look too far forward and stuff like that. I understand that completely. However, what I would say is we can take a lot of positives from that performance on Saturday and that result, and take them into this game, because this game is undoubtedly an absolute 6-pointer. It is. In fact, I'd even go as far as to say it's a 9-pointer. We really, really need to win this game, and the bare minimum, we definitely mustn't lose it. Definitely mustn't lose it. It's a simply it's a can't lose game, but for me, it's a must win. As I said, Newcastle are sitting on 19th in the Premier League, which you'd sit there and typically in a season, if you were to say, you know, to an Evertonian that didn't know where Everton were in the league, or didn't know how poorly Everton had been this season, and say, right, you've got a game coming up against Newcastle who are 19th in the league, would you say this was a absolute must win? They'd probably go, well, no, because we're probably much higher than they are, and we should be winning it because we're better, but if we don't, it's not the end of the world. Whereas considering we're only 4 points above Newcastle, and if they were to win tomorrow, they go just within a point of us, and still be within that relegation zone, is scary. It's absolutely scary, and it puts even more emphasis on how important this game is. Now, I know Frank Lampard said in his press conference today that it isn't necessarily a must-win game, and he doesn't see the next 2 fixtures against Leeds and Newcastle as that, you know, sort of tragic, because obviously there's 18 games remaining and there's a lot of football to be played. And whilst I understand that, I also understand the reasons as to why Frank Lampard has said that he's not going to come out and go, yeah, this is an absolute must-win game. If we don't win it, we're in the shit, because that just puts an awful lot of unnecessary pressure on his players and on the squad, doesn't it? Whereas we as fans can sit here and say, this is a game we really, really, really need to be winning. If we can come out of this one with 3 points, that again gives us even more confidence going into another difficult game at the weekend, but a game at Goodison Park against Leeds, a team that, you know, are susceptible to conceding goals constantly. And the way in which Everton have played so far under Frank Lampard, albeit it was only one game, I think we will create an awful lot of chances against Leeds and could potentially put a few goals past them as well. So, again, this game is so important. It's away from home, so it'll be difficult. Newcastle, of course, have just not long been taken over by new owners, and they've spent, I think, over £100 million in the January transfer window, bringing in the likes of Dan Burn from Brighton, centre-back, big centre-back, good player, decent Premier League centre-half, Kieran Trippier, of course, from Atletico Madrid, Chris Wood from Burnley, they brought Bruno in, the Brazilian, who is technically a really, really good footballer. Obviously, Matt Targett coming from Villa as well. So they've definitely strengthened their side. And I think, interestingly enough, they've brought in a number of good Premier League players, not necessarily unbelievable players. I mean, you know, when Newcastle were taking over in the earlier on in the season, you had all of this nonsense talk about how they're going to sign Mbappe and will they sign Neymar and will Erling Haaland go to Newcastle. And I think we sat here on one of the streams at the time and said this is just all utter nonsense. This is just the media making up shite so that Newcastle fans go, oh my God, we might sign Mbappe, we might sign Haaland. It was never, ever, ever happening. What could have happened is Newcastle went and spent a ridiculous amount of money on players that were big names but not really suitable to the Premier League or their squad. A little bit like Everton did, if you like, for the last 5 or 6 years or so. And when they brought in Kieran Trippier for the money they paid for him, I remember thinking that they're going down the route of Everton here. They're going to spend stupid money on massive players' names, the likes of Aaron Ramsey and players like that, who just simply won't be able to do the job that they need them to do. But they're a massive name. They'll sell shirts and therefore they'll, attract be attractive to the owners. But they actually haven't. They've gone out and brought decent Premier League players, not great Premier League players, but Premier League players that are decent, established, suited to this league, and will definitely want to come in and fight for their place, with the exception of Bruno, obviously, he's come in, from abroad. Chris Wood, handful, a striker that will put himself about, will work hard, will battle, as I said, a handful for any centre-back because of his physicality and his size. Dan Burn is a really big centre-half, not technically the greatest, but again, certainly will cause a lot of strikers problems because of his sheer size and his presence, and I think he's a decent centre-half. Matt Target, decent fullback coming in as well. So they're not necessarily names that you go, oh my God, these are gonna, they'll definitely get out the relegation zone, but they're certainly interesting players because they're coming from other Premier League teams that you look at and think that they're decent players, them. And obviously the reason Newcastle have spent the money they have on the players that they have is within a bid to stay in the Premier League this season, and Newcastle, I think, will still be looking at Everton, even with Frank Lampard and the win on Saturday, thinking this is an opportunity to go out and beat a side that haven't been particularly great recently, have been in really poor form, especially in the Premier League. It's at St James's Park, so Newcastle fans, again, will be looking at this thinking this is a great opportunity to get another 3 points on the board, climb closer to that, 17th spot away from the relegation zone against the side that haven't been particularly great recently. And that's why I think there's so much importance on Saturday's win against Brentford, because had we have not beaten Brentford on Saturday, Newcastle and Newcastle fans would have been looking at this going, this is, we need to get at these, because these have been awful, have been frail, they're conceding goals, they don't look like they've got any idea, they don't look like they know what they're doing. Whereas that Brentford win, I think, will make some people sit back and go, actually, they were a lot better there. There was an idea, there was fast movement, there was build-up play, there was one-touch passing. They were much, much better than what they have been. So, again, I think that'll work in our favour. Frank Lampard has had his pre-game press conference today. He has confirmed that Dominic Calvert-Lewin is fit and is in the squad. He has been training this week and will be available to be played tomorrow. Whether he starts or not is something that we're going to talk about a little bit later on in the live stream. He also said that Donny van der Beek and Dele Alli are also available and in the squad. We had it confirmed that Ben Godfrey's injury was a hamstring tear and he will be out until at least March. And we know that Abdoulaye Doucouré is still out for another 2 to 3 weeks and Fabian Delph is out for another 4 to 5 weeks. Basically, we probably won't see Fabian Delph ever again in an Everton shirt, which isn't necessarily the worst thing, is it? But other than that, we've got near enough a full strength team going into this one tomorrow. As I said, Abdoulaye Doucouré coming back will be a massive, massive plus when he does. But certainly, in terms of the side that beat Brentford at the weekend, everybody other than Ben Godfrey, of course, is available, and you've got the new signings as well. Anwar El Ghazi, how can we forget? Anwar El Ghazi will be available for this game, and all of a sudden, the squad starts to look a bit better, doesn't it? It starts to look a bit more full. I've seen a couple of people say, don't change the starting 11, because you should never change a starting 11, and you should never change a winning team, especially a winning team who won like that. We will talk about that in a little bit later on in the live stream, but even if we don't change the starting 11, how much better does our bench look then? Instead of looking over your shoulder and you're thinking, oh, we've got, Tosin to come on, or Iwobi, or this, that, and the other. And no disrespect to those two players, because they both come on against Brentford, and I actually thought they both did all right. But if we don't change the team, if Frank Lampard does go with the same starting 11, then he'll be looking at his bench thinking, you've got Dele Alli to come on, Donny van der Beek, Dominic Calvert-Lewin, Anwar El Ghazi, maybe Lewis Dobbin on there as well. The options all of a sudden look much brighter, and look much stronger. And if we are struggling in the game, or we are struggling to break Newcastle down, or not particularly playing well, you've got players there that can come on and change it, which I think is really, really important as well. Listen, there's absolutely no doubt this will be a difficult game. If I'm being honest with you, I'm absolutely shitting myself for it, because I honestly think at this point this could be the biggest game of the season, and it could determine and define our season. If we get a win tomorrow and we win comfortably, then you're looking at it thinking, right, build on this now. You've got Leeds at Goodison on Saturday, which will again be a tough game, but I think with the Goodison crowd behind us, and if we win tomorrow, I think the atmosphere will be buzzing and the positivity will be flowing, and I think we'll win on Saturday as well. If, of course, we manage to get the win tomorrow. And then all of a sudden you've got, again, you've got games there that will be tough, but, we need to be looking to pick up as many points as we possibly can. In that period, you've got an FA Cup game against Boreham Wood, which, as we said earlier, should be, a win. Not to disrespect Boreham Wood, and we absolutely should respect them, as much as possible. And by that, what I mean is play a full-strength team. And if we do that and we play well, then I think we'll... I think we'll be able to get the win there as well and progress in the FA Cup. So, after Saturday against Leeds, you've got Southampton away, which, I'd like to think we can get 3 points in. You've got City at home, which will be a difficult game. Then we've got the game against Boreham Wood. Tottenham away will be tough, but again, you can get points. Wolves at home, Watford away, West Ham away, Man United at home, Palace at home, then you've got the Derby away. So there's games in there that will certainly be difficult, but there's points to be picked up. But it just emphasises how important this week is, how important these next 2 fixtures are to get us away from that, from that period. We're currently sat on 19 points in the league at the moment. If we get 6 out the next 2 games, then that takes us to 25 points, which will see us around about 30th, 12th, depending on other results. So Southampton have got 25 sat in 12. So all of a sudden, we're climbing away from that relegation zone and we look in a more comfortable position, which is exactly what we all want, isn't it? But as I said, it will be tough because Newcastle are in a situation where they need to do that as well. The Newcastle aren't down and out by any stretch of the imagination. They're looking at this thinking, if we get 3 points, then we're a step closer, to being away from that relegation zone. So it'll be tough. It will be tough. I don't know out of the new Newcastle signings who will be available and who won't be available. But they've got an inner positivity about them, haven't they, because of the takeover and the new manager and stuff like that. And the fact that, a month or so ago, I was sat here saying that Newcastle are gone. Newcastle won't come back. They're absolutely gone. And then a month later, okay, they're still in the relegation zone. And they've still only won a couple of games, but they are only a matter of a couple of wins away from being out of that. So the confidence is oozing there, the positivity, they're absolutely going with the new owners and the manager and the players. But luckily for Everton, we've got a bit of that at the moment as well, haven't we? Imagine we were going into this game under the previous manager with the negativity and the worry and the anxiety around it, whereas now we're going into it under Frank Lampard, who's just shown in his opening game, for the club that tactically, within a matter of days, he's already implemented things that we hadn't seen in an Everton side for years. One-touch passing. Who knew these players could one-touch pass? Fucking hell. I don't think I've ever seen this squad of players one-touch pass, but he was implementing it, creating chances, defend them well as well, different formations in different games, defending set pieces, things that we should be doing anyway, but we weren't able to do previously. We sort of seemed like we'd sorted out on Saturday, and yes, it's one game, I get it. There's plenty of more games to play, and there's plenty of more important games to play, but this is the start of that. As I said, I can't emphasise how important this game is tomorrow. I really, really can't. We've got to go out and get the 3 points, and if we do, imagine the confidence and the momentum that gives us. Imagine the weight off our shoulders as well. I can't even begin to explain to you how how sort of relieved I will be if we can be sat here this time tomorrow. Well, not this time tomorrow, but tomorrow at about 10 o'clock, 10:30, doing the instant match reaction live, talking about an Everton win and saying, right, okay, we've gotten that game out the way. Now, that was one we had to win. That was one we should have won, and we've won. Now we look to Saturday. And if we can sit here on Saturday evening and say 2 really, really good wins in the league on the bounce, then we'll be in a much, much more comfortable situation. And that's where we want to be, isn't it? And that's ultimately what we need. Frank Lampard needs to go out and set this team out tomorrow to go and get the 3 points, because, we've won one Premier League game in the last however many months. I know some people will say, oh, we've won cup games, and that's great. We have won cup games. But the reality is, you don't avoid relegation by winning cup games. You avoid relegation by winning league games, and we've still only won one league game in 4 months, something like that. So we've absolutely got to make that 2 tomorrow. And I do think, as I said, with the confidence, with the momentum that these players would have gotten from Saturday's results and Saturday's performance, I actually fancy us tomorrow. I really, really do. And I know Newcastle have got a win under their belt in their last game, and they'll be looking at things a lot more confidently, and they'll have had an extra day, couple of days rest and stuff. But I just think if we play like we did on Saturday, I think even if Newcastle play well, I think we'll still win, because I think we've got better players. I think we've got better quality there, and I think defensively we can cause them some real problems. So let's look at Newcastle's previous games then. As I said, they did beat Leeds 1-0 away from home last time out, which again was another sort of relegation scrap, wasn't it? They drew at Watford the week before that 1-1. I think Watford scored in near enough last couple of minutes to get a result there. They lost to Cambridge, of course, the week before that in the FA Cup. They then had a couple of games postponed. I think ours was one of them, and then they drew with Manchester United 1-1 on the 27th of December. So since the 27th of December, they only actually played 3 games. One of them they lost to Cambridge, drew at Watford 1-1, and beat Leeds before the international break 1-0. So they've had much more rest than what Everton have had. But as I said before, and I will say again, I would much rather go into this game off the back of the win that we had on Saturday than with a few extra days rest, because of the confidence and momentum that will give the team and the players and the squad, and us as fans as well. I'm much more confident going into this game now than I was, 3 days ago. If you were to say to me, Cam, the Brentford game's postponed, I'd be sitting here now saying, oh, this will be a tough one. But I'm actually sitting here now going, oh, we were boss on Saturday. If we play like that again, we'll be all right. So yeah, it'll be tough. It will be tough. As I said, they've invested heavily, and there is an air of positivity around that football club at the moment. And even with Frank Lampard, even with the Brentford win, they'll still be looking at Everton thinking, if we can get at them, if we can if we can cause them problems, if we can get crosses into the box, get set pieces in, then we can potentially get something out of this game. And Newcastle would have every right to think that as well, because one really good performance and really good result doesn't take away the fact that we've been absolutely abysmal for the last however many months. And yes, it was under a previous manager, and for us as Evertonians, we have to put that behind us now and think, right, we've got a new manager now, the players will play differently, the system will be different and all of that sort of stuff. But for Newcastle, they'll be looking at it thinking, this is still an Everton team that is susceptible to fallen to bits, basically, and they'll be trying to get that out of us, and Frank Lampard and the team will have to know that that's what they'll be trying to do, and have to be able to combat that, and ultimately force them into making defensive mistakes, because they're not great defensively, hence why they've just gone out and spent £752 billion on Dan Burn. They haven't, but I'm just going to start making figures up, because I'm sick of the amount of things from the media and Twitter pages and all of this nonsense saying, oh, Everton paid 40 million for Dele Alli. Everton paid 40 million for Dele Alli. We didn't, so we can all play that game. Newcastle spends 120 million on Dan Burn. There you go. We'll have that one then. How good of a deal is that? So, listen, it'll be tough. It will be tough, but let's hope we go out and get a result. We need to get a result here. As I said, it's a must-win for me. But what we absolutely must not do is lose. Losing tomorrow would be catastrophic. Absolutely catastrophic. A draw would be disappointing, because we need more than a draw. We really do need more than a draw. But, a loss would be absolutely catastrophic. Absolutely catastrophic. If we get a point, I won't be happy, but I'll sort of think, right, okay, whatever, move on to Saturday, and and go again on Saturday. But as I said, a loss would be devastating, especially after the Brentford result. It would almost sort of not nullify the Brentford performance, because it was still a great performance, and again went into the next round of the cup, but it would certainly put a massive damper on it, especially the confidence element of the Brentford results. If we lose tomorrow, then the confidence we'd have gained from Brentford will be out the window. So important that we win. It will be tough, and I still am incredibly nervous, if I'm being honest with you. But as I said, if we play like we did on Saturday against the Premier League team, by the way, Brentford are a Premier League team. They're not very good, but they're a Premier League team. But Newcastle are a Premier League team who aren't very good. So, listen, it'll be tough, but let's hope that Frank and the boys can go out there. Let's hope that Frank Lampard can set them up, you know, in a way that Newcastle simply can't deal with, a little bit like, you know, the fact that Brentford couldn't deal with us on Saturday, and, you know, create chances, but also take chances as well. We missed a lot of chances in that first half against Brentford, and listen, it was great because we come back in the second half and we managed to, you know, put 4 past them, or put 3 past them, of course. And, you know, we didn't end up ruining any of those opportunities. But if we get 2 or 3 chances in the first half against Newcastle, we've got to put them away. Because I actually think Newcastle are a better team than Brentford. I think they've got more quality than Brentford, especially with the signings they've made. So, yeah, it'll be tough. But, you know, for me, you know, it's got to be a win. It's simply got to be a win. Let's get into the live comments then. Hernandez says, did you manage to get tickets to the match camp? I didn't, unfortunately, mate. Me and Ned were desperately scraping over the last 24 hours for tickets for this one, but unfortunately we were what's the word? We were unsuccessful. I don't know why I had struggled to say that for so long. If you're enjoying, by the way, please hit that like button. 102 people watching. If you could get the likes up, that'd be absolutely amazing. If you're new to the channel, don't forget to subscribe as well. That would be absolutely fantastic. Eugene says Andre Gomez could make major Everton comeback under Frank Lampard. Listen, it was absolutely brilliant. Sorry, I'm just looking at my tattoo. It's peeling a lot. Listen, it was absolutely brilliant against Brentford. Let's hope that if he plays tomorrow or he starts tomorrow, we can have that same impact and he can put that same type of performance in. But there's no denying, you know, he was fantastic against Brentford. Kenny says we can lose this game and things will be okay under this manager. No need to be putting other pressure on by our fans. 18 games to go at Mighty Town. Headlines like this don't help. Well, you're right. We can lose this game and things might still be okay, but I just don't think for the sake of confidence and for the sake of the confidence of and I suppose the relief of Evertonians, we can't lose this game. But listen, everyone has a different opinion. I'm not sitting here saying if we lose this, we're down. I'm saying this is a game we have to win against a team we should be beating. And I'm much more confident now that we will win this game than what I was 2 weeks ago. But I'm not saying, oh, if we win, we're definitely down. And the manager's right. There's a lot more football to be played. And ultimately, this game and Saturday won't define our season. But if we win them both, we'll all be feeling a lot more confident, won't we? Kevin says, Everton can win this. Newcastle is shite. We should be winning it, mate. Mason Holgate hails Everton fans for brilliant Goodison Park atmosphere. Says, Eugene, get your score prediction in. I'll take that, mate. Eugene's going for 4-1. Oh, love that. Glenn says, quickly finish your scan. I was going to say I wasn't, but I was finishing my scan. That's exactly what I was doing. 4-1 Everton win. A couple of people going for 4-1. I ran home from walking the dog for this, says EFC Graphic. It's right, mate. That's dedication. I think DCL will score an hat-trick for Everton against Newcastle tomorrow, and Richarlison will score 1. Interesting. Sai says, do not need 12 cans of cider to watch Everton at home on the big TV anymore. Is right. Wouldn't be surprised if Newcastle get a goal. Neither, mate, says the Epic. USA Toffee says, hope everyone as well get those likes. Liking these later start times. Cheers, mate. Cheers. I have just been to boxing, so hence why this one is late. If you haven't checked out the game review of the Brentford game, by the way, that was streamed earlier on today, so please do check that out after this one. We talked about the win, you know, Anthony Gordon, how good he was, Mikalenko, all of that sort of stuff, so go and check that out. Glenn says, I ran through barbed wire and burning buildings while being chased by wild dogs to be here for 8:45. I could have taken the easy way home, would have only taken 5 more minutes. I'm sorry I was a little bit late. I hold my hands up. I was a little bit late. I apologise. But I had to go to Sainsbury's, and then my next door neighbour has literally parked basically in our front room, so it took me about 45 minutes to park, so I apologise. I'll hold my hands up. Ned said the clock, says Mike. Just for the sport of it, says USA Toffee. Yes, Cam says Jack. What's happening, mate? Testicles says good evening, Cam. Hope you're doing well. Hurry up, lad. You haven't. I wasn't. All that scran has to come out eventually, says Glenn. USA Toffee says, that reminds me, Cam, give it 5 more minutes. Why are we talking about this? Up the Evans Toffee, says Hernandez. I'll do it while we wait for Cam, says EFC Graphic. Alright, Cam, Evening Blues, says Mojo. What's happening, mate? Hacken says Cam and Ned are almost twins. Both need some time to get the tech stuff to work. Listen, I had no issue with the tech stuff. I had an issue with me next door neighbour parking in me basically my bedroom. So I had to spend 4 hours trying to park the car, which is probably my fault as well. But there you go. Yerry Mina needs to be the Everton starting lineup against Newcastle because of Ben Goffrey. Well, he will be. ESC Graphics says, hey guys, welcome back. tuning in. So long time no see, Cam. What's happening, Louis? Like and subscribe, Blues. Says Hernandez is right, as opposed says Tess. We're on the march at Lampard's army is right. Goodison Blue says, Widgie, can we have to win, but it'll be a scary night full of goals. I'm going 4-2. Well, if it's 4-2, I'll take it. As long as it's 4-2 to Everton. And Ed says, does Dele start tomorrow, Cam, for you? Well, we will be getting in our predicted starting 11 in just a second. Kevin's asked what scran I had. I had spam, chips, egg and beans, mate, with bread. Unbelievable. Unbelievable scram. Not bothered what anyone says. Some people are turning their nose up at it. Unbelievable scram. It really, really is. Interestingly enough, there's a lot of debate about the starting 11 tomorrow because of the new signings, Dele Alli being available, Donny van de Beek being available, Dominic Calvert-Lewin now being available as well, which is which is interesting as well. And there's a lot of talk about whether or not we'll now play a 3 in midfield because we've got Van de Beek and Ali available. I'm gonna go through my predicted starting 11, and I'll let you know what we'll talk about it afterwards. But it's a tough one, this, because there's many different options. There's many different ways we could go, and I feel like whatever I say, people are going to disagree with, and I feel like whatever people say, I'll probably disagree with, because there's different ways in which we can, we can address this, we can attack this game with different personnel, which will be interesting. So I'm going to go with Jordan Pickford in goal. Yeah, pretty self-explanatory. Did give away a penalty against Brentford, probably a soft penalty to give away. I've seen some people say it was a penalty. I've seen some people say it wasn't a penalty. But ultimately, listen, he's still our number one goalkeeper. He's still the best goalkeeper that we've got at the club, and he still has made one mistake in the last however many months, so he will be starting this game. Left back, I'm going for Vitaly Mykolenko. Thought he was excellent, if I'm being perfectly honest with you, against Brentford. Getting forward, yes, I'd probably like to see a little bit more of him, in all honesty. However, I don't particularly attribute that to him. I think he probably was looking at the likes of Damari Gray, Anthony Gordon and Richarlison and thinking they're doing enough going forward to allow me to not have to go forward. So again, defensively, I thought he was absolutely sound. Didn't put a foot wrong. You can tell that he learned from his mistakes against Norwich, where he was playing little back passes that were just too short and were never going to work, but he learned from that because he wasn't doing that anymore. He didn't take any risk. He dealt with everything he needed to, and I just thought he put in a really, really, really good performance. If I'm being perfectly honest with you, I thought he was absolutely solid. And I can't really fault him. So Vitaly Mykolenko was at left back. Centre backs, I'm going for. Now this is where it gets tough, because a part of me is thinking go with the same team. Don't change a winning team. Don't change a starting 11. But then I look at it and I think, would the likes of Seamus Coleman be able to play twice in 1 week? Would the likes of Andre Gomez and Alan be able to play twice in a couple of days on their own in midfield? So I am going to change it for that reason. Ideally, I wouldn't change it. But I'm going to go with Mason Holgate and Yerry Mina in the centre of the defence. Now, I actually thought Michael Keane was decent yesterday. I didn't particularly think he had a bad game. Sorry, not yesterday, Saturday. I didn't particularly think he had a bad game. I thought he was okay. I thought he was solid. And I haven't just picked Mason Holgate over him because he scored, because ultimately that's not their job. So I don't use anything, the fact that Michael Keane didn't score against them. I just think that Mason impressed me a little bit more. I think he looked a little bit calmer on the ball. I think he looked a little bit more assured. I think he looked a little bit solid, and he looked a little bit more confident. Now, sometimes, as we've addressed before, that can be of an issue with Mason Holgate, because sometimes his confidence can turn into arrogance, and then he can start to make silly mistakes, and he does stupid things that he shouldn't be doing, and then it leads us into situations that we don't want to be in. But I actually think taking Michael Keane out of this one, and then maybe looking at the situation at the weekend and thinking, do you know what, we'll maybe play you with Yerry Mina then and take Mason out. There's options there. Obviously, we know Ben Godfrey's out now for the foreseeable future, so unfortunately he won't be available. And as I said, a big part of me is thinking just go with exactly the same team. But as I said, will that same team be able to play that same way high press, high intensity, work rate, good attacking football a couple of days later, given that a couple of the players aren't necessarily, the youngest or the fittest. So I am going with Mason Holgate and Yerry Mina. Yerry Mina is absolutely self-explanatory. Come on the other day and was amazing, absolutely amazing. Not only did he score and get an assist, but defensively he was bossy. He was boss at getting under, Ivan Toney's skin and and giving him giving him a disastrous time. And that's exactly what Yerry Mina does, and that's exactly why I love Yerry Mina, because not only is he a fantastic centre-half, but he's somebody that will frustrate and anger and cause problems to the opposition forwards, and that's exactly what you need in a centre-back, in my opinion. That's ideal. So Yerry Mina and Mason Holgate for me. And then I'm going to go with Seamus Coleman at right back. Now, I really want to see Nathan Patterson. I do really want to see Nathan Patterson. Is this the game to see him starting? I don't know. I wouldn't be against Nathan Patterson starting. I also, to be honest, wouldn't be against John Joe Kenny starting, because I think John Joe has done relatively well in recent weeks when he's had an opportunity, and I actually think John Joe Kenny done well when he come on the other day against Brentford. I thought he looked solid, thought he played well, thought he worked hard, thought defensively he was absolutely sound. Don't think he put a foot wrong defensively. And, I would have, as I said, absolutely no problem at all with either of them being in there. But I think given how good Seamus was yesterday, and given his experience, and given the fact that, again, he's the captain, I think we might see him start. May not necessarily see him for the entirety of the game, and again, I wouldn't be against that change being made, but I think we might see him start. We mightn't. It might be John Joe. It might be Nathan Patterson. Who knows? But I'm just going to go with Seamus Coleman at right back. Again, I may be wrong. In the midfield, then, I am going to go with Alan Andre Gomez and Donny van der Beek making his debut. Again, I think Alan and Andre Gomez both were absolutely unbelievable. Absolutely unbelievable. Adam makes a good point as well. Chucking Patterson into the game to deal with St. Maximum is a bad idea, in my opinion. But there's a good point. St. Maximum on that wing for Newcastle is bound to be a problem. Is bound to be an issue for us. Something that we've got to think about. And I think having the experience of Seamus Coleman in there will just be beneficial. To in combating that. As I said, midfield, Alan and Andre Gomez were unbelievable against Brentford. Absolutely fantastic. Some of their passing playing was unbelievable. Some of their movement was unbelievable. Alan technically was fantastic and is fantastic and doesn't get anywhere near enough credit as what he should do, considering how good he is. Skip this if we've already talked about it. Add to walk the dog. Will you get stopped from the bench tomorrow? Well, we'll talk about it now, mate. We'll talk about it now. As I said, pair of them were faultless, and there is a big question as to whether or not they can do it twice in a couple of days. I'm sure we'll wait and see tomorrow. But ultimately, even if we do put Donny van der Beek in there, or we do put Dele Alli in there, one of Alan or Gomez is bound to play, aren't they? And I'm pretty sure it will be Alan. And yeah, as I said, I think they were both fantastic, and I don't see a reason as to why they wouldn't play. And then Donny van der Beek making his debut. Listen, point to prove for Donny van der Beek, coming up against the side that he should be comfortably being able to deal with. I think a 3 in midfield will be beneficial to combat Newcastle United's midfield, and to try and control the game, and to try and keep our foot on the ball, and stop Newcastle from controlling it. Because if Newcastle do control it, then I think it'd be much more difficult for us. I think Donny van der Beek will certainly have that. I think he will impress. As I said, he's got a point to prove. He'll want to battle, he'll want to fight, and I think technically he's also a very, very good footballer as well. I think what we saw on Saturday was the technical side of Alan and Andre Gomez. I think we'll see the technical side of Donny van der Beek as well if he starts tomorrow. But as I said, I wouldn't be surprised if Frank Lampard went with the same team and therefore Van der Beek started on the bench. But I think if we're going to go with a third midfield, it would be Alan Gomez and Van der Beek. And then front three, I'm going with Gray, Richarlison and Anthony Gordon. No changes. I know some people are talking about Dominic Calvert-Lewin. I've seen Eric say Dele must start. Don't forget Dele Ali, the lad is class. I bet he scores. Listen, again, there's options there. Dele Ali, I'd love to put in there and start. I'd love to start Dominic Calvert-Lewin. But I don't know how anybody can look at that front three on Saturday and think that any of them deserve to be dropped. Anthony Gordon was a 10 out of 10. A 10 out of 10, and he's a young lad. You know, he's energetic. He's still learning, but he'll have all of the energy in the world to play again tomorrow, and he'll want to impress again tomorrow. And if he doesn't start, then I wouldn't take it as he's being dropped. I'd take it as he's being rested, and he'll start on Saturday. Don't get me wrong. I think if he doesn't start, I think he'll start 100% on Saturday. But I don't see why he wouldn't start. Same with Damari Gray on the other side. He's been brilliant recently, working hard, battling, trying to create chances, trying to get balls into the box, trying to get on his right foot and score goals and take shots himself. Been a revelation this season. And Richarlison, again, brilliant goal on the weekend, working his bollocks off, scoring goals. I know Dominic Calvert-Lewin's back, and I'd love to say Dom's in there, this, that, and the other, but Dominic Calvert-Lewin shouldn't be in there on the fact that he's Dominic Calvert-Lewin. He shouldn't be in there on the basis that he's Dom. If he's fit, he's got to play, especially when we've got other options playing well. If we had no other options and it was Rondon or Dom, then obviously Dom goes straight in there. Obviously, he's just back from injury. He was rushed back in from his previous injury, therefore causing another injury, which is why we're in this situation ourselves. I don't think there's any reason to throw him back in tomorrow. I don't, especially when you've got Gordon, Gray, and Richie, who were absolutely fantastic against Brentford, and I'd keep that front three. I'd have Dele Alli off the bench coming on maybe 50 minutes to make an impact. Let him go out there and prove himself. I'd have Dominic Calvert-Lewin come off the bench maybe last 15-20 minutes like he did in the Merseyside derby last year when we won at Anfield. People seem to forget Dominic Calvert-Lewin didn't start in that game either. He come off the bench in that game and again made an impact, won us a penalty. So it's tough because Dom is our striker and should be starting pretty much every week. He's our number 9, but he's only just returning from injury, and I think the front three that performed against Brentford deserve to be kept together and deserve to show in the Premier League against a team that, as I said, defensively aren't particularly great, what they can bring. Wormy says Gordon might play because he's young, but most players can't play at 100% 3 days after playing. That's right, and that's why I'm saying that if Dom's in there instead of Richie, or Dele's in there instead of Gray, or Alan's out, or I don't know, Coleman's out, I wouldn't be surprised. I genuinely think this is one of the hardest starting 11s to predict of the season. I really, really do, because there's so many options, and we played literally about 15 minutes ago. So there's all of these questions as to who's going to play, who needs resting, who needs to, who can start, who doesn't need to, who comes off the bench, etc., etc. You've got El Ghazi there, who still hasn't, we still haven't seen in an Everton shirt, and Josh Townsend, of course, who come on and scored the other day, really good goals. So there's options, and that's what we want ultimately. That is my predicted starting 11. By the way, let us know your thoughts on it in the live comments before we go. If you're enjoying, by the way, please hit that like button. It only takes a second, and if you're new to the channel, don't forget to subscribe. But as I said, it's not about Dominic Calvert-Lewin not being good enough, or he's not a good enough striker, this, that, and the other. That's not it. It's the fact that Richarlison, Gray and Gordon was so good the other day that I think if you keep them together, there's no need to risk Dominic Calvert-Lewin by throwing him straight in there. There isn't. And Matthew, you're right, he did score 3 at the start of the season and then got injured. He did score 20 goals last season, and I'm not saying he's shite, don't play him. I'm saying he's only just coming back from injury. There's no need to risk him. Bring him on with 20-25 minutes to go when Newcastle are knackered and they're looking at the bench thinking, fucking hell, the last thing we need to deal with now is Dominic Calvert-Lewin, and give Dom that bit of a kick. Say to Dom, your spot isn't guaranteed, You've got to work hard, you've got to battle. You've got to get your head down, and you've got to prove why you should be in this team. The players get complacent, whether they do it purposely or they do it subconsciously. Players get complacent. If a player knows, don't matter how I play or how I train or how many times I've been injured, if I'm fit, I'm in that team. If a player knows, hang on, I've got to perform here to get in that team week in, week out, that's when you'll get the best out of Dominic Calvert-Lewin. That's how he became the Dominic Calvert-Lewin he is today. Because when Moise Kean signed for Everton, he must have had a conversation with himself and thought, if I don't step my game up here, my place in this team is gone, and Moise Kean's going to take it. And we saw throughout that first lockdown, whilst Moise Kean was doing things he probably shouldn't have been doing, Dominic Calvert-Lewin was in the gym doing the sit-ups, on the bike, doing this, doing that, the other, getting himself fit, because he had that threat of competition. And Dom come back after lockdown and was unbelievable. And Moise Kean hadn't put that commitment in, hadn't put that work in. But that all started firmly, in my opinion, because Dominic Calvert-Lewin knew he had, he had competition. His place was up for threat, and it wasn't even guaranteed at that point. He was sort of battling to get a chance at that point. So if you've got Dominic Calvert-Lewin thinking, do you know what, I need to get my head down and work really, really hard here, and I'm not saying he won't, because I think he does have the work rate, and I'm not saying he consciously thinks, I'm not asked, because he doesn't, because you can see in his play, he wants to give everything, he works out, he loves this football club, and I love Dominic Calvert-Lewin. I think he's amazing. I think he's absolutely amazing. He's boss. I love him. But what I'm saying is competition is healthy for any player, no matter who you are. And I don't think Dom shouldn't start because he's not being good enough. But I just think the front three on Saturday were that good that they deserve to start again, and then bring Dom on off the bench. Plus, he's just been injured and out for, however many weeks and months together, with the exception of a period where he come back for 10 minutes. Been out near enough since October, hasn't he? September. Consistently. So it's not a bad thing to ease him into games without rushing him in and expecting the world from him. Because that's what Rafa Benitez got wrong. He rushed him in, he expected the world from him, and then Dom was given too much and ended up picking up an injury off the back of that. DAJ has donated £5 to the live stream. Thank you very much, my mate. He says, keep going, Cam. Thank you very, very much. I really, really do appreciate it. If you are enjoying, by the way, and you want to hit that like button, please do so. It is free. Only takes a second, and it would mean a massive amount to me. And if you're new, don't forget to subscribe as well. That would mean a massive amount to me. Fucking Bang says, hey Cam, good seeing as usual. Late one, keep him coming. Good for me in Australia. Nice one, my mate. Really, really do appreciate it. Dom is a huge threat, says Mike. He is. He's young, says that he is. Pace front free as it is, says Mikey. Yeah, and Dom will be in there against Leeds, and should be in there against Leeds, but I look at this, listen, it's options, it's healthy options. It's good to have this type of headache, isn't it? It's good to have competition. It's good to be able to look and go, oh, who do you take out of that team here? Instead of going, fucking hell, who'd you play? They're all shit. We're now looking and going, oh, the attackers, there's a few good inform attackers here. Who'd you take out? There's every argument to take out Demarai Gray than there is to take out Anthony Gordon, isn't he? And they've both been exceptional, especially Demarai Gray this season. So that's a good headache for the manager to have, and that's the headache that he wants to have. Excellent channel, superb, says Jamie. Thank you very much, my mate. Till midnight, Cam. Not today. I'm in work tomorrow. We'll be finishing up in a moment. The 3 were good last game, yeah. DCL does have the work rate, he does. Let's face it, Brentford with terrible Saturday. Newcastle will be harder. I think it will as well. I do. Like Pickford with Olsen, says EFC Graphic. Yeah, spot on. DCL does, yeah. Jason says, come on, you Blues. Just being on a Newcastle fan channel, they're adamant they're going to beat us 3-1. I'm sure they will be. Because they'll have blocked out Brentford. In fact, they probably wouldn't have watched it, and they'll have just assumed that Brentford were dead shit, which they were, but they'll have just assumed that, we had like 4 penalties. They wouldn't have actually watched how good we were. They'll have been watching how bad we were under Benitez, and that's where their confidence will come from, and I don't blame them. I personally will keep 3-4-3. It worked so well last game. Again, there you go. I wouldn't be surprised to see that. It's about patience, says Matthew. I agree. Everton need to keep their fans quiet for the first 20 minutes and then bang. Well, we need to start quick, and if we start quick and get a couple of quick early goals, then their fans will be quiet, and I think their heads will drop. Smash the likes, Blues says cheers. Whatever the lineup is, we have so much better depth in the attack and midfield. It's amazing to be so fucking excited to this game. Yeah. Same here, mate. That starts only 2, says Pokey. Interesting. Cam, next summer, who would you rather lose? Richie or DCL? One's going, probably. It's so hard, because I don't want to lose neither. I really, really don't want to lose neither. It's impossible for me to pick, mate, unfortunately. I can't fathom losing either. What do you do as a job, Cam, says Daniel? I work in administration. Everton made Brentford look shit, didn't give them much chance to play. Newcastle will suffer more. Spot on, I agree. Anyway, look, we are going to finish it up there then. As I said, really difficult game this one tomorrow, but certainly one we can win, and for me, one we need to win. The confidence that this will give if we do win will be massive. And James says score prediction. I'm going with 3-1. Where'd you get your haircut, Cam? Barber's #1 in Liverpool. I hope we play Alan, Gomez and Dele. Dom, Richie isn't replaceable. This is the AFC graphic. Interesting. No more zonal marking is our biggest thing now. Well, just being able to defend corners will be a good thing, won't it? But no, look, it'll be tough. It will be tough. But it's such a big game, and the manager's right ultimately, and a couple of people in the squad are right. It isn't in the comments are right. It isn't season defining. If we lose, it's not the end of the world. But I just think for confidence and for momentum and for to continue this good start to Lampard's time at the club, I think a win would be absolutely fantastic. And like I said, if we can't win, don't lose. That's the old saying that my football manager used to say to me in games that, were really important. If you can't win, don't lose. And I think that would be the message to these players tomorrow. But if we can play like we did on Saturday against Brentford, I think we'll be sound tomorrow. I think we'll be absolutely sound, and I actually think we'll win this game. So it's an exciting one. I'm looking forward to it much more now than I was before Brentford. We will be back, of course, tomorrow with the instant match reaction and the player ratings live directly after the game. So don't forget to join us for those. Let us know your thoughts in the comments. If you're watching as a YouTube video, if you're watching live, big thanks to everybody for getting involved in the live comments. Sorry I couldn't get involved with all of them, but I really do appreciate all of the support. If you have enjoyed, please hit that like button. It does only take a second, and if you're new to the channel, don't forget to subscribe as well. But yeah, massive game tomorrow. Let's hope we can go out and get the 3 points. As I said, we'll be back with the instant match reaction and the player ratings live after the game, so join us for them. I am a little bit nervous. I can't lie, I am a little bit nervous, but fingers crossed. Let's hope we can go out and get the results, and let's hope that Frank Lampard can extend his Everton managerial career to 2 straight wins in 2 games. Let's hope. So, will we see Dele Alli? Will we see Donny van der Beek? Will we see Anwar El Ghazi for the first time? Will we see Dominic Calvert-Lewin start, or will he come off the bench? Let us know in the YouTube comments if you're watching below. Massive thanks to everyone for watching live. Blue California Blue Arch, cheers mate. Kevin says thanks Cam and Blues is right. Matthew says have a good night fellow Blues, cheers mate. Thanks Cam, cheers. See everyone tomorrow, says USA Toffee is right. Jem says night Blues, woohoo, come on you Blues is right. Great video, says the Ingu, cheers mate. Yes, USA Toffee says up the effing Toffees is right. Massive thank you all for watching. Come on you Blues, up the Toffees. Let's go out and get a win. Tomorrow is massive. Let's go and get the 3 points. Big thanks for watching, and we'll see you after.